All right, Nick, let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs really getting into the thick of things. We've seen rookie minicamp OTAs, we've seen mandatory minicamp, and now we're starting to hear some things about some young players who are actually making some progress. The Chiefs have made some moves, and I think there's some really strong stuff going on for the Kansas City Chiefs in regards to one position in particular. We'll get into all that in just a second here, but first, I'm Andrew, that's Nick, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, Chiefs doing some really good stuff coming out of mandatory minicamp. They actually signed some players that impress in one position in particular across the offensive line. Some good depth, some good positional versatility. I think this is a really strong signing for the Chiefs. Let's get into the article and we can talk more about it on the other side. This is from over on Arrowhead Addict. It says the Kansas City Chiefs have added another name to their offensive line room as they continue to sort out their competition heading into next month's training camp. Former South Dakota standout Joey Lombard has signed with the team following a tryout at the team's recent 3-day mandatory minicamp. Lombard arrives in Kansas City after a strong college career with the Coyotes, where he was a 4-year starter and a 2024 second team All American selection. He spent most of his time at center, but also logged starts at left guard, giving him some positional versatility that coaches value in a developmental prospect. I think this is important here. This is a D1 AA guy. This is, a guy coming from a lower tier level of football. He's going to come in, he's undrafted as a developmental guy, and that's what they said. But there's a lot to like about this guy. And when you compare him to some of the best names in football, no, it's not necessarily apples to apples. These are top tier players. These are guys that played in the SEC. But just looking at the raw numbers, you see Joey Lombard here, a guy who's an undrafted free agent. And mind you, this guy has great size well. He's 6'5, 315 pounds. So he's got the frame. It's not like he's an undersized guy putting up these numbers. He does really well against the top two interior offensive linemen in the draft. So we got Lombard here. The left lighter orange color is his pass blocking grades. The darker orange color is the run blocking grades. Lombard, 81.3 pass blocking grade, great number there. 72.9 run blocking grade, also good number. You look at Tyler Booker, 86.5 pass blocking grade there, and a 63.9 run blocking grade. And then we got Tate Ratledge, another great player, 77.3 pass blocking grade, 72.7 run blocking grade. When you see these guys, you see Lombard stands up. His numbers look as good as these guys. Now, I know the competition they played, not necessarily as good, but the principle is this guy has some skill, he has some ability, and after playing 5 full seasons in the college football realm, this guy has done some good stuff. So I think this was a great pickup for the Chiefs. Specifically, this guy finished his career out at center, did really good, but he also has 868 snaps at the guard position. So something that could be interesting because we all know Kingsley Suamataia, we're talking about this guy. We think he can turn it around and he become a good player for the Chiefs. But if not, that left guard position, that's the biggest question mark along this offensive line. So having a guy in here has some positional versatility, has some good depth, who has good numbers, he has a good frame, good size, he has good longevity. He played a lot of snaps throughout his career, not very many injuries, and a guy that could come in and fill in at the left guard position if needed. I think this was a great pickup. Because we're talking about the Chiefs here. This is a team that when you're consistently winning, you're not drafting in the top 10 of the draft. You're going to have less draft capital overall than everyone when you're the best. So you have to find value additions. And a guy like Joey Lombard, what he brings to the table, I think is a fantastic value position, if to only be some great positional depth that can fill in across the entirety of the interior offensive line. I'm curious what your thoughts are on all of this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Chiefs fans, in the comment section below, let us know. We're talking about the left guard position. I'm talking about Kingsley Suamataia. What do you think about him? Do you think you've seen a lot? We've talked about him in a few videos, what he brings to the table, how he can turn stuff around. What do you think about him? Do you think at the end of the day, starting week 1, is this going to be the guy that wins the left guard position and is the starter for this team? Or do you have someone else? There's a ton of tackles on this team that may get flipped around with Simmons' emergence. who knows what's going to happen there. But what do you think happens at the left guard position? Let us know in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what are your thoughts on everything here with Kansas City?
So first and foremost, let's take a high level perspective of what the Chiefs do. And one of the things the Chiefs do extremely well, and they do a lot very well when it comes to their roster management and overall construction, is they take a long-term approach with all of their draft picks, with all their additions, undrafted free agents, right? A lot of teams, we're actually going to put together some data to show this in the coming days and weeks in a video breaking down. But a lot of the Chiefs competition, they focus on the immediate short term. They sacrifice the future to try and keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs today. The Chiefs beat a lot of those teams, obviously, 3 straight Super Bowl appearances and are a favorite to make a run at another one this season. They beat a lot of these teams by focusing on the long term simultaneously as trying to make sure they win today. And that's one of the great aspects of what Veach, Reed, and that entire staff do. What I mean by that is they draft and sign players that have the ability to develop and improve. I'll go back to the George Karlaftis draft pick a couple of years ago, first round edge defender, of course. He was considered a project guy, right? Obviously, a lot of great physical tools. He comes out of school, and after a rough first year in a lot of ways statistically, every single year he's gotten better and better and better. Overall grade according to PFF, pass rush grade according to PFF, snap count keeps going up and up. By the end of his rookie deal, he's looking like a very high level quality starter for the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs fans, you saw that last year. He played at a very high level, doing a lot of good things for this Chiefs defense. That's just one example of many such circumstances where the Chiefs draft a guy with an eye on what he will be in the future. And I think what we see here from Lombard is an example of that. Now, look, he's an FCS guy. He's a developmental prospect. But when you look at the anatomy of a potential steal, there's two really attributes I look for. Number one, do you have an NFL body, an NFL athletic skill set of some kind, right? It doesn't matter how good of a football player you are. If you run a 4.9 40 in your receiver, ain't going to work out, right? If you're an offensive lineman, you better have an NFL offensive lineman frame, and he does, right? 6'5", 300 plus pounds, right? So he's got the frame, he's got an NFL body that checks that box. But the second box is improvement, right? Because if you're coming from an FCS level, lower level competition, you're going to have to step up your game and step up your game very quickly as you transition to the National Football League. Fortunately, when you look at Lombard, he got better each and every year. This was a guy who played a lot of football in college, like you mentioned. Sometimes you get these guys that play a lot and they kind of oscillate the performance. They're great their sophomore year, dip their junior year, then pretty good their senior year. Lombard got better and better each and every season for South Dakota as he got more playing time. I think this is a guy who's on the upswing. I think this is a guy who steps up his game based on the competition he's facing, which is going to be really important because he's going to be facing some elite competition now that he's at the National Football League level. But this just speaks to a larger Chiefs strategy. They're always looking for guys to develop, always looking for guys what they're going to be in the out years, right? They don't look at, hey, how can you help us win today? How can you help us win this exact second? Now, they'll take it, right? We've seen that with a number of additions, but they're always drafting guys thinking, how can you help us win 2 years from now? And I think that's one of the reasons why the Chiefs are so good. They were planning for 2023, 2024, and 2021 and 2022. And moves like this is planning for 2027, 2028, and 2025. And this is how you extend dynasties. This is how you keep championship windows open, even as you lose some guys, even as you get older in a lot of areas. You keep looking for the future while also addressing immediate term issues. Now, when you focus on the offensive line, just pivoting slightly to what the issue is here and now, I think the Chiefs look at this as an area of needing some depth inside this offensive line, or really across the offensive line at large. Because if you go into last season, right, they had Kingsley Suamataia, like you mentioned, playing a lot of football early in the season. Offensive tackle did not work out. They signed DJ Humphries, veteran, later in the year. Did not work out there. They had to slide Joe Tooney, all-pro left guard or left tackle, of course, for the home stretch. He did a good job, but you don't want that reshuffling an offensive line. You want to have depth guys you can trust, so that way you don't have to have really good players move to new positions or at least different positions. I think the Chiefs this offseason, of course, we've seen this with a number of draft picks, their first-round pick namely, but they've done a really good job, and Lombard is added into the mix as trying to address some key depth on this offensive line. And that's an important aspect to consider here. The Chiefs saw their flaws against the Philadelphia Eagles as not necessarily a talent issue necessarily, but I think a depth issue. They had to slide Tooney to tackle, obviously, for the home stretch, meant they were weaker at left guard, meant they were weaker overall, and we saw it all collapse against Philadelphia. They looked at this problem as one that can be addressed with quality depth across the board, where you have an injury or you have poor performance, and you don't have to completely revamp the offensive line. And that's exactly what they did this offseason. And I think Joey Lombard, a guy who's got a lot of positional versatility, a smart physical player, a smart player, can come in and add that experience in the interior offensive line and become a key depth piece if and when those moments occur. So this is, once again, just to reiterate, a great job by the Kansas City Chiefs, thinking ahead for the future, getting a developmental guy who's on the upswing, getting, again, we understand low level competition compared to, SEC, Pac 12, Big Ten, get that 100%, but it's undeniable. He's got an NFL frame. He's improving, or has improved every single year in college. I think he'll do good things in training camp. We'll have to see how it all shakes out. He may be a practice squad guy that eventually becomes a quality depth piece, and who knows, he may have to get some big time playing snaps in some key moments. But if he does, the Chiefs will have prepared him to do so, because this is what Kansas City has done over the past decade or so. They've done a great job finding some high value guys and giving an opportunity to develop. The Karlaftis example, I think, is the biggest one. I think going forward, the Chiefs have added a lot of key pieces to address the depth issues on the offensive line. And I think, once again, this is why the Chiefs have extended their dynastic run. And this is why, although a lot of people saw them play poorly in the Super Bowl, they will not be going away anytime soon. They're doing a great job focusing on the short term, making sure they win today, while also keeping an eye on the long term as well. It's one of, I would say at this point, it is the best run franchise in the NFL.
Yeah, Nick, and I think, like you said, this guy has a lot to like. And I think one thing you brought up, playing the best in some of the biggest moments, some of the biggest games from last year were the games that he graded out the best, when they played that higher level of competition. When they went out and played Wisconsin week 2, he had one of his best overall grades of the season that year, 76.2 overall, and mid 70 grades across the board, doing really good stuff there. When he went to play the defending FCS national champions, South Dakota State, they did really, really good. He did a 79.3 pass blocking grade there week 9. Then when they played the eventual, 2024 FCS national champions in North Dakota State, Dakota's dominating that area. He did, again, really great, 74.4 pass blocking grade there. So this is a guy who, like you said, shines at the brightest moments. I think when you look at what he's doing, he's getting better every year. You look at the sacks that he allowed. He's allowed 6 sacks in his whole career over 5 years. But this last season, 0 sacks allowed for him. He got better each year. He's doing good things. He only allowed really 7 pressures total last season over the course of 800 snaps. That's pretty impressive. That's like 1 pressure basically per 100 snaps, maybe a little bit more snaps there. But overall, the guy's doing a lot of good stuff. I think there's a lot to like you said. I think that's the key here. This isn't a guy week 1 that you're coming in to put in as superstar starting left guard, the future of the franchise, but it's a great depth piece, a great piece that can develop into, like you said, practice squad, then positional, depth there. Then potentially, if you need him, he can slot in at that guard position and be a really strong player. This is what the Chiefs need to do, and this is, like you said, what they are really good at doing. They look at the future, and this guy looks like he has a bright future with the Kansas City Chiefs.